I'm going to pray since Braden's still
Yes, okay, thank you, Teddy.
God, we reverence you and thank you for creativity. The first action we saw you do in the Bible was creating. And we know when your kids act like you smile on them. So bless us with the ability to be like you and create something amazing, something that the world can marvel at, something that people can smile about, learn from, and gather from. All these blessings we ask in your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Welcome to Act Up, where we talk to industry professionals who act down. And I feel like I need to explain what acting down means. So, when I watch auditions and I see an audition that I'm really, really excited about, I have a tendency to yell out to the camera or to the computer, act down. So, that's what I mean when I say act down. And today we have someone who I have yelled act down to many times, the incredible artist and actress, Miss Zsané. Hello.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good.
We go way back, Zsané.
We do. This is like a full circle moment. You were the first person that I reached out to when I moved to Atlanta.
Really?
I reached out to you for coffee.
Oh my gosh,
you graciously
yes.
met me for coffee somewhere in Marietta.
Yes.
I think. Yes. And that was in 16, 17?
That was I know.
It was a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we've gone out for lunch and everything.
We have.
Wow. And you have taken Atlanta by storm, Zsané. You've done some incredible things.
Thank you.
So you guys can look up Zsané's incredible, beautiful resume. I think one of the most recent things you did was Rebel Ridge in 2024.
Yeah.
And so literally, I saw on Instagram. I'm like, oh, Zsané's like on the red carpet. And I'm like, okay. I was like, she must have like this is my thinking. Like, she must have a cute little role in this. And then I watched the movie. I'm like, girl, you in the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's you. And then I was like, oh, there she is again.
Yeah.
So with this incredible role year, how did you get here? Like, how did we get here to Zsané, star of Rebel Ridge?
I just love this question. I love this question for real because I wish I had that kind of information when I started as an actor almost 9 years ago. So I started off my career
and hold on 1 second. Would you like anything to drink?
No, yes, hold on. I would love whatever he got in his hand.
Okay. Come on in. So Zsané, we only give the best to our illustrious guests.
Okay.
And we're giving you an illustrious drink in a very nice champagne flute.
Oh.
And this is Trader Joe's sparkling grape drink. It is actually delicious, but I hope you enjoy it. One day we'll bump up to the real thing, but for right now we have our Trader Joe's sparkling.
This is good. This is enough for me.
Well, I'm happy. It's actually delicious, so you enjoy whenever you want. So let me go back. So we're talking about Rebel Ridge. We're talking about the fact that, I watched it and I was so pleasantly surprised to see your face so much in this huge film that did really, really well on Netflix.
Yeah.
So how did you get here? Like, now we went from Zsané to, you asked me for coffee.
Right.
And here
9
we are
years ago.
Yes.
I know.
So
it's been a journey. I started my working career as a civil engineer.
Wow.
I went to engineering school at North Carolina A&T State University. I can't HBCU.
Hey.
And I very quickly realized that it wasn't the route for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something more creative. And when I was at North Carolina A&T, I attempted to double major in theater and civil engineering. I only got the civil engineering degree because ain't nobody got time to be in school for I was already in school for a prolonged period.
Right.
I didn't have time to finish the theater degree. But while I was still pursuing the theater degree, we had a class called Acting on Camera. where they brought in an agent. They brought in this agent, Anne-Marie Rhodes. She's no longer an agent right now, but she was an agent based in Greensboro, North Carolina, where my school was. After I graduated with my engineering degree and I had dropped the theater, I reached out to Anne-Marie and I was like, man, I just really loved what you said in that acting on camera class. Yeah. And, can I get an internship? Because at that point, I had no idea how to get into this industry. Yeah. Like, I just knew you just needed an agent, Right. And that was just me Googling how to become an actor on online. Right. I knew you needed an agent. But what I really was interested in about was just how to navigate this industry and just learning more about being in this industry. Because at that time, I had did one theater production and got kicked out because I refused to show up to rehearsals because I was in the engineering lab all the time. So I hadn't really acted that much. Yeah. And so I was like, I wasn't confident to say, can you look at my materials? I didn't know what materials were. Yeah. So I was like, girl, I'll work for free. I'll do whatever I got to do up in this. I was hustling. Yeah. And I kept reaching out. And then eventually she was like, girl, come in. Just come in and let's have a talk. And she let me intern with her for the summer. And I saw at that time period, this was back in 2016, maybe 2015, 2016, at that time period, actors were coming into the office at the agency and taping their auditions, and I would be their reader. She would let me read with them. So I was learning how to be an actor at this agency. I wasn't paid. Everybody in my life thought I was crazy because I had left a paying job to work for free. Wow. So it was a lot. It was a lot financially. It was a lot. It was a big risk, but I learned so much. And at the end of the internship, at the end of the summer, she offered me representation. Wow. And in a way that was like, we don't know if you're a good actor, Zsané, because she had me do a scene and it was not good. And she was like, we don't know that you're that good, but maybe you could do reenactments. Wow. Crime reenactments. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. So that's how I started doing TV One reenactments. Wow. Yeah, in 2015.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And here so was that agency in North Carolina or was it in Atlanta?
That agency was in Greensboro, North Carolina. And then she eventually let me start auditioning for TV and film projects that were filming out of Atlanta. Okay. And I started getting callbacks and I started having to come and drive to and making up all these kinds of excuses at my job. Because I had a 9-to-5 working at a tax firm. Yeah. And I was making up all of my back hurt. I fell in the shower. I was just making up. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, the stuff I was coming up with. But I would have to drive to Atlanta so much for callbacks that I was like, you know what? I need to transition to Atlanta.
What made you, so that's the thing that made you actually move here and actually come and make Atlanta
right.
your home.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah. So how long have you been in Atlanta?
Since 2016.
Okay, so almost 10 years.
Yeah, almost 10 years.
Tiffany asked a really beautiful question. Okay. I'm going off script a little bit. But Tiffany asked a really beautiful question last time. Tiffany, what was that question? It was something like, do you feel like you've given more, or has Atlanta given more to you than you've given it to it?
Mm-hmm. Like, have you given more to Atlanta, or has Atlanta given more to you?
Yes. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I know. And there may be some times where it ebb and flows and it changes.
Yes, I think it does. I think it's a very seasonal thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because when I first came here, I reached out to you when I was a part of the group that we were all a part of.
Which was Alchemy.
Yes, the Alchemy group. And so I became sort of integrated into this community of community-minded Black artists. Yeah. And that was a very, very beautiful thing.
We actually did that. Like, I have to remind myself
Girl,
that
you did
happened.
You did that. And that's how I met you and how I met Jason, our mutual friend, and how I met a lot of people here. Yeah. But it was a challenging time period because there was a lot of and this is really, I don't want to speak specifically about Atlanta in this way, but just in the industry in this way of sometimes it's challenging to connect authentically. Sometimes with people. Yeah, sometimes absolutely. when you're surrounded by people who are interested in getting put on or the who's who, and there was a lot of that sort of going on in my experience at that time period, because Atlanta was becoming, back in 2016, it was like on the uptick. It was like, this is where you got to be, especially if you're Black and you want to make it in Atlanta. And so that was a troubling time for me in terms of relationships, building relationships with other artists and people. And so I kind of withdrew from Atlanta a little bit and had to start branching out to other areas.
Gotcha.
Oh, shoot.
Uh-oh.
See, I can't
The
stand.
fact, look, this is all informal. The fact that the magnet attracted your earring is hilarious.
No,
No,
it didn't.
it just made it come out.
It did.
And I've been looking at your earrings. I'm like, you have the cutest earrings on. I love that.
Thank you.
So I have another question for you. So, what do you feel is the boldest thing that you've done in your career thus far?
Pursue it. That's what I feel
Ooh.
like has been the boldest
Yes.
thing. I didn't come from, because I was engineering. I was, I don't come from a family that thinks that this is realistic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if somebody came in and was like, I'm going to invent a vacuum and it's going to hang out the ceiling and it's going to still suck from the floor.
Yeah.
That's what I was essentially saying to my family. And they were like, girl, you're delusional. Like, your ass is going to be on my couch.
Yeah.
and I'm not about to be paying your bills. Like, that's the energy that I was met with my friends and family, because at that time, my friends were all engineers.
Yeah.
So they were just like, girl, what are you talking about? You're going to be poor? Like,
have you ever regretted that choice? So I thought I was going to be a doctor. Like, I was like, I'm going to go to pre-med. I'm going to be a OBGYN. Like, that was
wow.
Yes. And then I failed chemistry and I was like, nope, this is not for you. But I have a lot of friends who are doctors now.
Okay.
Love them dearly. I am so grateful that I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
So do you ever have any regrets? Like, that civil engineering job would have been nice and
it would have been cute.
Did you ever regret it at all?
Not engineering specifically.
Okay.
But because it was just, actually, there was a lot of crossover between because I was a project engineer.
Okay, gotcha.
So I worked on location for months at a time at different Air Force bases in Oregon, in Colorado, here in Atlanta, and in Delaware. So there's a lot of crossover between. So a lot of some of the same things that I don't love about acting are some of the same things I didn't love about being an engineer. So not engineering specifically, but there are times where I'm like, dang, I wish I would invest my time or had the sort of awareness to invest my time in something outside of acting.
Really?
Because it is so contract based. So when I'm not acting, I'm like, oh, well, dang, how am I contributing to my purpose or to being impactful in the world? So there's it's a lot of ebbs and flows.
I'm going totally off. Do you know what that would have, or what that would look like now? Like, if you were like, okay, what would be that thing that you would invest in? And it kind of is going to have a later question about that. But what would be that thing that you would invest in now outside of acting?
So when I started as an actor, the way that I made money was I was a traveling poet.
Really?
Yeah.
I knew that about you.
Yeah, I think you knew.
Okay, yes, I did. Yeah.
So I did a lot of events in Atlanta, but then, y'all.
Look.
I'm gonna move it over to the middle.
It's literally that's a strong magnet right there.
That is like, it's next level.
Traveling poet.
Yes, I was a traveling poet. And so I started in Atlanta doing that. People would book me for multiple events. Like I remember Blossom. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
When that was so that kind of put me on in terms of people starting to book me. They would book me for celebrations, their birthday parties, their entrepreneurial launches. And then I started getting traveled to like Arizona and all those things. But then when acting picked up, I just couldn't, I couldn't do both. And so now I started back after filming Rebel Ridge, getting back into poetry and doing live events and doing so. Yes, I'm teetering back into it, but I wish I had have sustained it more.
I love that. Okay, I got you. So like, I love process, and I love to talk about process.
Yes.
So I would love to know, what is your process? What does preparation look like for you? Mm-hmm. So like, when you get an audition, when you got that audition for Rebel Ridge, and they're like, here are the sides, like, what are your next steps after that?
So when I got the audition, it's always, well, let me check my coach's availability, because I love my coach is Kelly. Okay. I have a coach, Kelly, and Tanisha. Okay. They're my two main acting coaches.
Okay. Are they here in Atlanta?
No, neither one of them.
Oh, really?
Are here in Atlanta.
Okay, where are they based?
One is based based in Nashville, and Tanisha is based in Miami.
Okay, gotcha.
Florida.
Okay.
So they're my main two coaches, and I coach most auditions. Okay. I love collaboration. Okay. I love coaching. I love collaboration. I love getting another vantage point on some material. Okay. So I check the availability of my coach, and then I kind of throw out the character description.
Ooh.
Because the character description has to be me, no matter what because I'm the one showing up to it. And I found that early on in my career, I was trying to force myself, into this kind of confined thing of like, and so now I throw away the character description and I read the sides and I focus on understanding the story before lines don't even come, honestly, until I'm auditioning, until I'm like taping or something like that. I don't even think about the lines.
Really?
Yeah.
I thank you for saying that. I love that. I love that. Because I feel like so many actors are so married and so afraid to like get the lines wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you got the lines right, but you totally did not connect. Like you have no idea who this character is, but you got the dialogue right.
Yeah.
So interesting. How did you find your coach?
I found it, my talent manager, my first coach, Kelly, I found her through my talent manager, at that time. Maybe back in we've been coaching for a long time. So maybe back in like 2018, I found her through a referral. And then my acting coach, Tanisha, she was an acting coach on David Makes Man, another project that I was doing. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I love that you said that because I think so many actors try to do it all within their power. And it's like, you need a team, like you need a team as well. So the fact that your first call is to a coach to help you is beautiful.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Because you go on set and you're acting with another person.
Yeah.
So you're immediately put into a scenario where you're seeing a scene through another vantage point, another perspective. And you have to learn how to play tennis.
That's so good. And then do you guys do Zoom sessions, I'm assuming?
Yeah, we do Zoom sessions.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you've booked Rebel Ridge and David Makes Man and Curves the film.
Yeah.
So I was like, in my eyes, you are a very successful actress and you have done amazing things here in this Atlanta market.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes you stay here? Like, what makes you stay here versus going to another market like LA or New York?
It's because the industry changed.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So after the pandemic, the industry changed. And I booked Rebel Ridge at the top of 2020.
Wow.
So it's been a long journey for that film. So I booked that at the top of 2020 and I was going to transition to LA. I had found a roommate.
Yeah.
And I was going to make that transition because at that period in my life, Atlanta casting directors weren't casting me.
Gotcha.
It was only LA casting directors.
Gotcha.
So I booked David Makes Man. All of those were LA casting directors. And so I was like, well, I probably need to go out there and, meet them since they casting me. But then the pandemic changed things. I got a new team during the pandemic too. And everything became virtual. So I didn't feel a need to have to be out there anymore.
Do you have Atlanta representation?
No.
Or really?
I don't.
So you have all your representation is not in Atlanta. It's all LA or New York based, or
it's LA.
Really?
Yeah.
How has that been for you?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest.
Look, we're real honest here. Yes.
Sometimes you just gotta go where the love is. The Atlanta casting directors, they had stopped casting me. So
wow.
The LA casting directors were casting me.
Wow.
And so I was like, oh, well, I gotta, I can't just sit here hoping, begging, and pleading.
Wow.
I gotta go where the love is.
So you have LA casting that basically submits you for Atlanta projects?
LA agents, reps.
LA agents, yeah. LA reps who will basically submit you for the Atlanta project and LA, of course.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. Oh, this makes me want to ask more questions, and I'm like, we may not make the cut, but that's okay. Do you feel like that has attributed to your success? The fact that you have had LA reps versus Atlanta reps. I know you said Atlanta casting directors.
I think so, but I think honestly, kind of like the common thread and the common theme is just me. Okay. I'm just really good about taking authority of my career. And so when it comes to relationships, I'm not necessarily looking at, where you're based, whether it's Atlanta, LA, New York. I'm really looking to partner with people who are on Team Zsané, who believe in me. And I'm not interested in somebody who's just like, oh, you're another person on our roster. Yes. I'm interested in somebody who wants to invest in my career.
I was going to ask, so what does taking ownership of your career look like for you? So we know like getting people who are on your team. What else does it look like?
It looks like keeping my values at the forefront. I have like 5 values, like 5 top pillars.
Do you mind sharing that?
Yes. So okay, so the first one is like ownership authority. So that's one. The second one is collaboration and communication.
Yeah.
So that's really big with me with partnerships. It's like if I feel like I can't reach out to my agent, if I feel like I can't, we can't be in partnership because this is a collaboration. You're collaborating with me in my career.
Yeah.
So the third one is the third one is dang, what's the third one, y'all? Oh, the third one is relationships.
Yeah.
So I'm really big on like my investment in my relationships, not in terms of transactional, like what can I get from you, more so in like how can I contribute to you and how can you contribute to me.
Okay.
You know, so I'm really interested in the exchange of impact.
Okay.
That's really, really big for me. And then another one is personal development in terms of artistry. I'm really interested in being challenged, and I'm really interested in growing and evolving. And I feel like stagnancy or complacency, I don't know, it's boring.
I totally agree.
So boring.
Totally agree.
So it's like when I'm making a decision in my career, it has to meet those values.
Ooh.
If it does not meet those values, I cannot make that decision.
That's so good. So this is my question, because you have, I think, what people would call standards or boundaries for yourself as it pertains to an artist, which is beautiful in a space where so many artists feel like they have to take what they can get.
Yeah. Oh God.
So do you feel like, one, how did you come to that? And how do you foster the courage to do that? Because that may mean turning down things that don't meet those 5 pillars.
It definitely means that.
Okay.
It definitely means turning down things. I think, you know what? It's kind of, I can't take a lot of credit for it because I think my upbringing really, my mother, she was a single mom and we lived in like 8 or 9 different states. And because she would change a job, like she changing socks.
Yeah.
She would change a job. If it's not in alignment with her, she's leaving.
Gotcha.
And so I saw that example growing up that like, oh no, I can have actually whatever I want.
Yeah.
As long as I go after it. And yeah, it might be really, really challenging. When I was making a decision to transition from Atlanta to sort of like LA casting, I made some really crazy ass decisions that, can I cuss?
Yes, of course.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I made some crazy decisions that were like, people would like, back to your question about what's the boldest thing that I've done. I was like broke, like in the red with Wells Fargo. Like I was just so broke. It was so crazy. And I had finally gotten a tax refund. This is like back in 2018. I had finally gotten a tax refund that was like $1,400. So I felt like I was rich, like, you know, $1,400 for somebody that was just in the red.
Yeah.
I felt good. And then my talent manager at the time, I had that was my first LA talent manager. She had called me and she was like, oh, Zsané, there's this role on Good Trouble. This role on Freeform's Good Trouble.
Yeah.
And they requested you to audition in person. It was a co-star.
Wow.
It was like maybe 2 lines. And I was like, F it, I'm gonna do it. I spent probably $800.
Wow.
Because it was a last minute flight to LA, like next day, because they casting wanted to see me in 2 days.
Oh my God.
So I probably spent, and I was just rich with $1,400.
Right,
I was just rich. So to spend half my money, that really hurt. But I went there and I say, you know what? I'm about to flip this like it's hot. And I went there. I saw that they were casting it was a guest star role. I saw that they were casting another guest star role. So I worked with my coach to prepare both. Even though they didn't ask me to come in for this guest star role, I was like, look, I gotta make something work. Like we gotta make this money. So I went into casting and that was my first in-person LA experience. And it was very quintessential, like what you see on TV.
Yeah.
Of people sitting in the hallway. I was like, it ain't like that in Atlanta.
Right,
like,
exactly.
It's not like that. But I went in and then at the end of that co-star audition, I was like, Zsané, just gotta be bold. I was like, look, ma'am, you know, it seems like this went well. Can I can I audition for this guest star role?
Wow.
And she was like, no. And I was like, okay,
no.
okay, cool. Okay, cool. So I went back to the hotel and I was like, all right, I don't know what's going to happen from this. God, please let me know what's going to happen from this. The next day I got an alert on, Showfax.
Yeah.
Showfax. I got an alert saying the sides had changed for the audition I had just did.
Oh, wow.
And I pulled the, I hadn't heard from casting or anything. I was like, oh, dang, I don't know what this means. But the sides changed. I reached out to my manager. She was like, oh, they do that kind of stuff all the time, whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Let me spend another $100 in this hotel.
Wow.
And let me just stay. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
I stayed another night. And then the next day we got a call saying, oh, we want Zsané to come back in for, we have new sides. And also we're moving this up to guest star. And I was like, it was like just a faith move.
Oh my gosh.
And then I came in there and I nailed the audition. I felt like you can feel the energy. You can feel the energy when because the casting director started asking me questions afterwards, like, where you from? Like trying to get to know me.
Yeah.
So I felt like I nailed that audition. And then I stayed another night and I had to stay at my talent because I was my money, that $1,400.
now it's gone.
It was gone. I was back in the red.
Yeah.
But my my talent manager allowed me to stay in her studio on the futon. Yeah, that was very generous. Very, very generous of her.
Somebody who's on your team.
Right. Somebody who's on your team. She let me stay there for the night. And then that next day they said, we want to book it. And not only is it, no, I was flying out the next day. Because I felt good after I did that. I was like, the casting director asked me where I'm from. Like, I done made it. So I went back home. I went back home. And then as soon as I landed, my talent manager reached out to me and was like, they want to book you as a guest star and they want you to recur.
Wow.
And I was like, I was just
yes.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. That was probably, to answer your question about the boldest thing ever, that was the boldest thing. And that made my transition in terms of acting in LA.
That's so good. I was going to ask if there has ever been like what has been a turning point for you in your career?
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been that. Was that it? Or do you have any other moment that you feel like, oh, this is a turning point for me? Like, is it Rebel Ridge? Or what do you feel about that?
Honestly, it was last year.
Really?
Yeah, it was last year because there was such a long journey between Rebel Ridge. We filmed it in 2022.
Okay.
So we filmed it 2 years ago.
Okay.
It had a long journey.
Okay.
It had a long journey. And then in 23, what was last year?
2024.
So in 2023, the strike.
Yeah.
And so they were still editing Rebel. And they didn't want it to come out because we couldn't publicize. We couldn't do nothing.
Anything. Yeah.
So that sat me down for a good minute. And then in 24, when I found out it was coming, I was going through, and this is really just a real personal thing. I was going through a really vulnerable period in my life where I realized I had created such an attachment to my career. That I was so unfulfilled, so deeply unfulfilled in my life.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And so the strike really brought light to that.
Wow.
Because I was just kind of like, I mean, going back to my story of like, oh, I'm gonna fly over to LA and do this audition. Like, that was the life I was living. I was living like hustle, bustle. I got to make this career happen. Got to make this career happen because I was facing so much doubt, not only within myself to make this career happen, but also friends and family. I was facing so much doubt. So that really powered a lot of those courageous decisions I made. I mean, doubt will put a fire under you.
I always feel like it takes a lot of courage to say I'm an actor.
It takes
like,
so much.
That just that statement takes a lot of bravery and courage.
It does.
Because it's going against kind of everything that we've been like taught to, or in terms of success and wealth and having whatever money, like it goes against it. And say I am going to be a student of this process is a very, very, very bold step anyway.
Oh my gosh.
And to say, you know what, despite the fact that I could have been an engineer or a doctor or something that would have come with what we deem as success. And to say, oh, I'm going to take a step away and do it my way is huge.
It is. Huge. It really is. And I find myself, I'm still shy about saying I'm an actor. When people ask me what I am, I'm like, I be at home. Like,
Yeah.
I just be saying,
Right.
I like reading books. Like,
Right,
I just, like,
right.
don't like, because, as an actor, when you tell people you're an actor, people want to know, well, what you about to be in or what you
Right.
did. People want to quote your resume. And I'm
Yes.
like, when I used to say I'm an engineer, nobody was interested.
Right.
You know what I
They're
mean?
like,
People be
okay.
like, they might have been interested in like how much money you make, but they're not
Yes.
interested in like, okay, so what you building? What are you
Yes.
doing? Like, no one's that interested. But when you say actor, man, people want to see something, and that can be very intimidating.
That's so good. And you said something, thank you. You said something like about how last year you felt very, was it unfulfilled? Is
Oh,
that-
yes.
And when you say unfulfilled in your career, as an actor, you're saying unfulfilled?
Yes,
Really?
definitely as an actor.
Do you feel like you have worked your way through that? Or do you still feel like you're working your way through
I
that?
feel like I'm working my way through it.
Oh,
I feel
wow.
like I didn't realize that you have to be multidimensional in every aspect of your life.
Oh, please explain.
Like when it comes to career, being so singular, focused, and putting all your eggs in one basket,
Yeah.
not even just with income, but just
Yeah.
with impact, purpose,
Yeah.
fulfillment, all those
Yeah.
things that we all want, especially creatives, we
For
want in
sure.
our career. I was so singularly focused on acting that when the strike happened, I was like, who am I?
I
I
see.
had like an identity crisis because
see.
of my attachment to acting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good. All right. So I'm gonna ask. These are questions I've answered myself,
Okay.
and I ask every guest.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you these questions. All right.
Okay.
So the first question is, what has been your favorite age thus far, and why?
Like ages and numbers?
As in number.
Oh, girl, I thought we were talking about time period.
You're like,
I'm
the
gonna say
70s.
Bridgerton.
Yeah, right.
My favorite age. I would say the age that I am now.
Really?
I would say it. Yes,
Oh,
I'm
good.
33 years old. I'm in my
Oh.
Jesus year.
Oh, girl.
I'm in my Jesus year.
Yes.
And so I would have to say my age now. Like I
Nice.
feel really, really good about a lot of the fears that I'm learning how to navigate. The fear of
Good.
perception, the fear of judgment, the fear of, like I've become so consciously aware of myself
Yeah.
that I'm able to give myself so much love and so much empathy.
Oh, that's so good.
It's really good.
I'm so happy that you love this year. I did not. But anyway, 33 was like that whole death and crucifixion. I was like, yep, that was my 33 for sure. All right, so you kind of mentioned this, but if you were not an actor, what would you be doing?
Gosh, if I wasn't an actor, oh God, you know what? I would probably be. I would probably be a dancer.
Really?
Yes. Like, I mean, I know that's in alignment with acting because it's storytelling regardless, but I just started dancing. Like, I have no dance background. I just started dancing, and I find so much freedom in
so
dancing.
good.
And maybe it's because, like, I'm not good at it, so, like, I don't care. I don't care.
It's so funny because, like, we just did, like, a full day of dance auditions yesterday.
Oh, really?
Like, literally, we had auditions from, like, 10 o'clock in the morning to, like, 10 o'clock at night.
How was that?
Amazing. Like,
Was
we've
it?
been talking about how beautiful it was to just be in the spirit of people who do this for a living, who are hungry, who,
Wow.
like, have that competitive thing. And I was telling them a story of, I was actually auditioning dancers, and we needed to find an actor that could dance. And that was very difficult for us. And one of the things that one of the choreographers said was that, the actor struggled because he's not used to thinking with his body. And he's sitting thinking in his head. And so to see how dancers really express themselves and their minds are in their arms and their torso. So to say, I totally understand why you would say that. That's good. Yeah.
I know an actor who can dance.
Oh,
in case you
really?
need that contact.
Oh, okay. I know, right?
I've been trying to put my friends on.
Trust me, like, there are very
My
few.
friends.
It's like, he was like, the director's like, I want an actor that can dance versus a dancer that can act.
Oh.
And so trying to find it where it was like, your strength is one, and then like the second tier, it was a process. It was a process. All right, brunch or happy hour?
Brunch. I love breakfast
Me
food.
too.
I love breakfast food.
Give me a waffle.
Yeah. And
Yes.
it's like I be in the bed, so I don't really know how late happy hour is, but I be in the bed.
All right. So, what do you love about being an actor in the Southeast?
Really, just being able to connect with community-minded Black actors.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
for
I've
sure.
met so many, and it's just been really nice that emphasis on community. I think is really alive here.
It is. This is off subject. Do you have a favorite project that you've worked on?
Yeah, David Makes Man.
Really? That was a
Yes.
beautiful show too.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Poetic.
Yeah. Nice.
I love David Makes Man. It was the first time that I got to work with. It was, of course, it was an all-Black cast, its own.
Yeah.
And so it was an all-Black cast, but it was the first time that I got to work with actors that were so generous, you know, so like willing to give of themselves, and they're still giving of themselves to me.
Really?
Every time I hit them up, I'll be like, because a lot of them are series regulars, leads on shows.
Yeah.
And I'll audition for a show they're on, and I'll be like, so I just auditioned for a show you're on, and they'll be like, I'll let me hit up the showrunner. Like they're it was beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I love that. So, what has been the most challenging thing that you've done lately?
Lately?
Yes, like a real challenge that you've tackled, and it can be emotional, it could be physical. Like, what's a challenge that you've tackled?
It's definitely, and this is a part of it actually.
Okay.
It's definitely facing my fear perception.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Explain.
Because I after David Makes Man, that was my biggest role at that time. They did a whole episode where it was just me with 40 pages, and
wow.
And there was a lot of like, oh, you know, we want you to meet with these 15 people to interview you. We want you to do a radio drop. We want you to. I became a turtle. Like I was just rejecting that kind of stuff. I just could not take the idea of being perceived.
Really?
It was and which is crazy because I'm an actor.
Oh,
It's like literally what we do.
yes.
It's what we do. But I couldn't take it. Like people will be tweeting me. Even now with Rebel Ridge, it's like I'm trending on TikTok. It's just so like, even when people are not even just negative things, but even when people are complimenting me, I'm just kind of like, oh my God, you can see me?
Yes.
Like I'm just
that is so good, Zsané, because I understand that.
Really?
I totally understand that because I'm a really good hider. Like I love to hide. Like even doing this, I'm like, oh wait, all y'all are here, you know? Like wait a second. And so, and it's one of those things that I'm like, I never realized that can come with the job of being an actor, especially the more that you do and the more jobs that you book and the bigger the projects. It's like, oh, people are going to perceive me. They're not just going to see me playing a character. They're going to be looking at me and having to deal with that is something I feel like we don't talk about, you know, because there's a good friend of mine, and you know, and he's on a big role in a big show, and he talks about like not wanting to be in places where people recognize him. Like he doesn't like it at all. And it's like, oh wait, I forgot, like that's a part of the gig that we don't, like, I think people assume like, oh well, wouldn't you love that?
Right. And
but yeah.
Because you just think I'm just a human being.
Right. Exactly. Like, this is just my job, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wow.
So how do you deal with that?
With hiding?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still hiding. let me take that back. I will say that I have been doing a lot of work on that.
Okay.
It may look like doing work in therapy. It may look like talking to somebody. It may mean like being aware of what hiding looks like for me.
Yeah.
But it has definitely been a journey. So I think for me, it's looked like me doing things. It's looked like me getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I did the event series that we did last year. Like that is something I would have been very happy to just be in my house. But it's like, no, like I feel like I am purposed and here for a reason and have a huge love for artists.
You do.
And a part of that, if I am hiding, then they are not getting blessed by the things that I have to give.
Yeah.
And so my hiding does not, like, someone said, like, there's no prize for being the world's best kept secret. Like, it's not something to be proud of.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm trying not to stay in that space.
Yeah.
So trust me, I'm still on that journey.
I understand.
But
Because
yes.
I had to really sit with myself about what was behind it.
Yes.
And a lot of it is the fear of judgment. The fear
absolutely.
of
Criticism,
rejection,
feedback.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, all of it.
So much.
All of it.
And I'm just like, what's so crazy is that 1,000 people will comment and then you get that one negative thing and you're just kind of like fixate on that one negative thing. And it's like, how can I bring my mindset into balance?
Yes,
has been a big thing for me.
I don't like watching myself at all.
Oh my God, it's challenging.
Like I did a project years ago, and it's called Good Girls. I cannot watch it. Like literally, my boyfriend put on the theme song, and I was like, take it off. Like I was like, I can't do it. Like it's a real process for me. Like there's been times where I'm like, if I'm on camera, like I want somebody else to edit it because I'm like, just if I'm looking at myself, I'm like, it's a thing.
I'm gonna be thinking about it.
I know. Yes. Yeah.
And with being an actor, having to watch my tapes,
right,
and edit them and send them in. But I've had to give. What's really helping me with it is validation. I have a self affirmation process.
Oh, I love
that I have to do every day.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it's in the mirror, sometimes it's with my journal, but I have to do it every day to just show up places because I'm like, people will say things like, "Oh, you're beautiful," and you would think that's a compliment to some people, but when you say it to me, sometimes I'm like cringing. I'm like, oh, that means you can see me.
Right,
It's just not.
I know exactly what you mean. Exactly what you mean. It is a process, and it is a daily thing for me to be like, oh, am I hiding right now?
Yes.
Like, oh, is this something that I need to tackle? And trust me, it has been very uncomfortable, but it's also been helpful. And I feel like for me, I don't know if you feel like this, like, I feel like God has placed people in my life that have either been the opposite of that or has shown me what it looks like to not hide all the time. Like it is like literally been like there's so many people where I'm like, oh, that's you showing me that this is an example of what it could look like. And I don't know. For me, I feel like I'm littered with people in my life who are just that teacher for me to say it's okay.
Wow. See, I need to talk to God because that's not what God. Everybody around me struggles with it.
I feel you.
With this fear.
I feel you. That's hilarious. I'm so happy that you said that. That's so good. All right. So last question. What makes you feel alive?
You know what? It's when someone listens to something that I have to say.
Ooh.
It's something very special about being listened to.
Yes.
That feels, I don't know if it's like affirmation for my inner child. Like, I don't know what it is, but there's something very special. We were on Rebel Ridge.
Okay.
There's a scene where Aaron, the lead actor, he has to, we were trying to figure out how was he going to get the money. It was like, I can't really describe the scene, but like I was in the back and he was trying to get some money in the back of the thing. And they were trying to figure out like, how is he going to get the money? He has the gun. He has to keep the gun cocked in a certain way because my character, he has the gun on her.
Yeah.
And I said something like, well, why doesn't he just kick the bag of money? Oh. And the director was like, let's try that. And I was like, look at me being of value.
Yes.
Look at me being acknowledged.
Yes.
You know, that was a big, it's something beautiful about people looking at you and saying you have something of value to add and I'm willing to listen.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
that's
it was
so
beautiful.
Zsané, you are such a gem.
Thank you.
It's so nice to speak with you. And thank you for being so open and vulnerable, and you're in such a beautiful and unique place that I love. I'm like, I could have just kept on talking to you all day, but I know we have to wrap it up. But I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And I know that there's so much in store. And I know this is going to be a beautiful year for you. But congratulations on all of your work, success. Thank you for coming on this show. You didn't have to come, but I'm so grateful that you did. So thank you.
I'm so happy to be here, Rhavynn.
Aw, thank you, Zsané. Yes, give it up for Zsané. We we have a beautiful exclusive for you, a beautiful piece of work, a poem from Zsané.
Yeah, I'm a big back. I got that big fat. Go down on me, my thighs threatening your neck like, you sure you want to risk that? I taste like a chokehold. Got big dreams that'll hold you to your own goals, yeah. I'm body goals, I body goals. I never met a competition worth paying attention to. Even my peripheral screaming, I got winner's vision, I'm locked in. And I'm confusing shit, Every time I turn around, I find another multifaceted, it's crazy. Can't pin me down, blindfold you, spin you around. This pony, your inner child, there's some shit you just can't get rid of. It's time to face the facts. It's time to turn your back on what you think is real because you're sitting in a mirror image, but I'm gonna bring you back to equilibrium. Cause ain't it strange? On one hand, you the shit, on the other, you the shame. Being not good enough for this, but you good enough for some bullshit. Baby, your self-esteem needs a bench press. New Year's then came up, resolute, me, myself, and I is my type of incest. I'm into myself. I don't give a fuck what you into. I'm not an algorithm. I'm not a peeping Tom at your search engine. Look, I'm enough, so I don't gotta prove it. I have enough. I've done enough. I'm on my self-acceptance. Keep up.